Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm here with an introduction to a very exciting project. This is my new project pan that I'm starting this year, which is not gonna replace my Pan Those Eyeshadows, but it is gonna be my main eyeshadow project pan, or like one of my main eyeshadow project pans this year. And yeah, basically why I wanted to do this and not use Pan Those Eyeshadows is because I want to get more use out of my collection as a whole and not just hit random pans on eyeshadows and then neglect the rest of the palettes. And yeah, I think that's been kind of the main issue for me for the last kind of year or 2 years or so. So that's why I wanted to start this project. So I started to think of ideas of how I could do that, and I came up with this, which is my project Level Up. And I will go through all the rules and details in a second, but before I jump into that, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. I would love to have you in the family. So let's jump into the video. So the project itself, like I said, it kind of involves getting use out of your palettes but also hitting pan. And why it's called Project Level Up is because I've structured the project in the sense of that you have different levels, and each level entails a certain amount of pans slash uses, which I will get to in a second. So obviously the first level is 1, second level is 2, third level is 3, and so on. So what I wanted to do with this project is, like I said, to both get use out of my items but also hit pan. So how this is going to work is that for level 1, my goal is to randomize a palette. So any palette in my collection I'm going to randomize and work on, and my goal for level 1 is going to be to hit one pan and use every single shade one time. And once I've hit those two goals, I'm going to randomize a new palette and move on to level 2, which then means that I'm going to hit 2 pans in that palette and use every single shade twice. And yeah, obviously so on. So level 3 will be 3 pans and 3 uses on each eyeshadow. So that is going to be the main structure of the project. When it comes to the rules itself, I'm gonna basically allow myself to, when I've gone to level 5, choose to reset the project and start level 1 again, or possibly at that point I might continue up if I'd rather do that. Same if you want to join in this project as well. I feel like the main gist is going to be that when you get to level 5, so you completed level 5, you have an option to restart at level 1, so you start over with randomizing a palette and hitting 1 pan and using everything once, instead of moving on to 6 pans and 6 uses, if that makes sense. Because I feel like 6 pans is quite a lot in this palette, and I feel like that's going to be quite difficult if it continues going up. But if you do want a challenge, you can also opt in doing that. And I feel like I'm probably going to lean towards resetting after level 5, but I'm just going to see how I feel at that point, and also see where I am in the year when I get to that level. I'm also allowing myself 5 vetoes this year, just in case I roll something that I really don't want to work on, or something that really doesn't fit the season. And yeah, I think apart from that, the rules are pretty much self-explanatory. I also have one palette that I do not want to roll into this project, and that is my Pat McGrath Utopian Dreams palette. If I do purchase any more palettes throughout the year that are really special that I want to have in this project, I will let you know, because I don't feel like I'm ready to hit pan on those eyeshadows yet. I'm happy to use them, but I am not going to try to pan on those. So if that rolls into this project, I'm not going to use that, because obviously this project both entails hitting pan as well as using the palette. So I'll probably work on that palette in a usage sort of way instead in a different project, so it probably won't be included in this one. So that is the main gist of the project. So if you have any questions or if anything is unclear, of course comment down below and I will be happy to explain the rules. But yeah, I think the project itself is pretty much self-explanatory. So we're going to move on to the next part, which is going to randomize my palette. And like I said, I'm going to start with level 1. So with the palette I roll in today, I'm going to use every single shade once, and then yeah, hit pan on one of the eyeshadows. And once I've done that, I've completed level 1, and I can continue on to the next palette and the next level. Also, I will be updating this project monthly. So for example, if I do hit my goal early in the month, I will still wait for the full month to update. And obviously also moving forward for the more difficult levels, I'm still going to update every single month just to show you my progress and how many times I used each eyeshadow and things like that. So yeah, let's just pull up the randomizer. I have downloaded the Tiny Decisions app, because since I'm doing palettes, I feel like that's easier than the random number generator, because you can straight away see what palette it is and I don't have to randomize any specific shades. That's also another comment that I forgot to mention before. When it comes to the eyeshadow that you want to hit pan on, or eyeshadows when we get to further levels. You can choose yourself what eyeshadows in the palette you want to hit pan on, so it's not randomized. If you want to do it that way, you want to randomize the eyeshadows you want to hit pan on in the palette, you can do that, but I'm just gonna work on what I want in the palette and hit those pans. But yeah, let's just go ahead and pick my palette. I'm quite nervous because let's see what my first focus palette is gonna be. Like I said, if I do happen to roll my Utopian Dream, it's in the wheel, so if that happens, I'm just gonna re-roll, and otherwise, like I said, I have 5 vetoes throughout the year. But yeah, let's go ahead and pick my wheel. So I'm just gonna go ahead, I've never done this before, so I'm gonna press it a couple of times and then pick my palette. That is my the Child palette by Colourpop, which is the Mandalorian palette. So yeah, that's gonna be my first focus palette. I'm quite excited about that one. It's the one that I already have a few pans in, so I can't work on any shade because some of them obviously, like I said, already have pan. But I'm gonna go and pick that palette out and I will be right back. So I'm back with my palette, and that, like I said, is the Mandalorian The Child palette by Colourpop in collaboration with Star Wars. And this is what the palette looks like on the inside. I think this is going to be a really good, easy palette to start with because there's not too many shades. Because obviously the more shades there is in the palette, the longer it will take me to use all shades the certain amount of times that I need to. So in this palette I need to use every single shade once, and I need to hit another additional pan in here. I already have pan on 2 of the shades, so I need to use obviously them again. If I have pan on something, that doesn't hinder me using those again. I still need to use them the amount of times that I need to. But out of the other shades that I have, I actually swatched out the palette on my hand so you can see what it looks like. So you can see it right there. Out of the eyeshadows that I have left, I definitely think I'm going to focus on one of the shimmer shades to hit pan on. I really love the shade right here, which is called The Force. Otherwise, one of these 2 shimmers will kind of easy to pan on as well, I think, but I think the Force might be my focus shade. But I'm just going to see how I go with the palette in the next month and see which one I decide to focus on and hit pan on. But that is going to be the first palette that I'm going to focus on, and like I said, I'm going to update this monthly, and hopefully I think I should be able to hit my goal on this palette next month, which means that I will roll in another palette to work on. And once I hit the goal on this one, that's obviously going to be level 2, so that's going to be a palette that I roll in to work on, to put 2 pans and use every shade twice. So I hope this all makes sense. Like I said, I just wanted to do a project that meant that I would use every single shade in the palette that I was working on and not just hit pan. And I just wanted to give a little bit of a twist to it, a little bit of a challenge, hence the kind of leveling up and using each palette a certain amount of times and hitting a certain amount of pans in the palettes. I also kind of like that I can focus on the shades that I want, because somehow I feel like in certain palettes, the pans that I have due to Pan Those Eyeshadows doesn't necessarily reflect which shades are my favorite. Like in here, like I said, one of my absolute favorite shades is The Force, but I have barely used that because most of the use that I have in this palette is through Pan Those Eyeshadows. So yeah, it doesn't reflect kind of where my favorite shadows lie, if that makes sense. So that's why I wanted to do it this way, why I wanted to choose my own shadows to work on, but still, like I said, challenge myself and hit pan eyeshadows as well as use the palette as a whole. So I hope that, like I said, this all makes sense, and if I do use certain shadows more than once, that's absolutely fine. I'm not going to limit myself, and I'm going to keep tracking each eyeshadow throughout the month and not just like the one use. I'm going to continue tracking to see how many times I used each eyeshadows, and I'm just going to gravitate the palettes as I feel like. So that is it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do want to join in this project, please let me know down below and I will link it in my description box for the next update. And yeah, that is it. I will catch you in my next one. Bye guys.